Are we live? So I'm Rob the Water Guy. This is Mad Max with the Night Country Podcast, and I'm Water God TV. Thank y'all for checking in. Make sure y'all subscribe to our channel. We give great content about what's going on that I feel like it's important what you need to hear. But Max, what's going on, man? How you doing? It's been a long time since we dropped the video, man.
It seems like forever ago, Rob, and thank you for
Right.
having me back on the show. It's a blessing to be here. Thank you for
Mhm.
everybody who's tuning in and checking us out. Please, if you haven't done so already, like, subscribe, share, and notify so you don't miss any of this great content from either one of our channels and the other guys and gals that we work with in this industry here. We got a great show for you today. I think that this one has been a long time coming in the works and in the weights and in the wings. So finally,
Yeah,
the day has come, and
it's
yeah,
here.
let's
Let's
get
go.
it. Let's do it.
Let's go. So in this show, we're gonna go over Trump and Biden. We're gonna go over, our guns a public health crisis. Okay, we're gonna get Mac's point of view. We're gonna get my point of view, and then we're gonna go over the Lebron and Bronny James. Okay, that whole, that's been causing a lot of controversy in sports in the world. So we gotta give our opinion on that. So Max, let's hit them with Trump and Biden. So we're gonna go over this clip and then we're gonna give our opinion on what we think and what do we think about the presidential debate. You ready? Let's get it.
All right. And this clip we're going to show basically is going to have the highlights of last night's debate summed up in about 3 minutes. So it's a 3 minute
Perfect.
clip that is from Politico, and we will show you this clip and then we'll go over it. So here we go.
Turn your volume on. May have to start it over. I don't hear it. No volume. That's weird.
You got no volume?
Yeah, I can't hear. You can hear it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think it's because I'm sharing it on my side.
No, it still should. It says an error occurred with your guest destination. We informed them so they can fix it.
Here we go. Let's do this. In case anybody can't hear, we're going to put the captions back on. I apologize for any difficulties. I believe, Rob, that the reason you're not able to hear it is because I'm casting from my side. If you want me
You want me to
to
put it on mine?
continue to do it, I turn on the closed captions so people can read along. If they, that way, I won't be able to hear it, but I already know what they're going to say. And as long as the closed captions are on, I'll be able to read along without a problem. But that way, you'll be able to hear it and it won't be an issue over here. Shouldn't be an issue over here
Okay,
on my part because I was able to hear it yesterday. And back out of here real quick. Or I can try to play it one more time and switch one more
try to play it
setting.
one more time. If not, we can. It sucks. I would want to get them a little highlights of.
Let me
Let's
try
see.
this. Let's see if this one works.
But it was
Okay,
interesting
that's all
that
the
you
way
told
up.
me that.
Closed caption. And the only reason I realized that was because I did the same thing. Until somebody told me, I had no idea.
All right, let me see if you. Let me try it on my end and see if you hear it.
You making
Yeah,
your thing happen.
I heard you 100%.
You hear mine 100%.
And that's yep.
Oh no, this is the wrong one. Hold on, real quick. Let me. The biggest, the highlights.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
one's highlights from presidential or first presidential debate in 180 seconds. So yeah, now we both know that the host is the one. Like, we can both share screens, but only the host is going to be able to hear it on his end if he's sharing to where everybody can hear it.
Gotcha. So I'm trying to find that highlights. I think I got it. Yeah.
Yep.
So I got it. You see it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, all right, guys. Sorry about that. We back. We back live. So yeah, we're gonna go over
It
this
happens
debate.
live.
Yeah. And let's get it.
Do you support
2.0.
any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade.
He can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth.
That is simply not true. We are not for late-term abortion, period, with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look.
We had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it.
There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more border patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
If a Republican did that, they'd go to
Thank
jail.
you, President Trump.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office.
He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world.
He said the only one who wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job.
The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion. It was a ripoff of the United States. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country.
Presidential historians, they've had meetings and they voted who's the worst president in American history, one through best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history.
He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want to have a war, just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again.
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America.
All right.
A single major.
There we have it. There we have it, Max. So, what is your thoughts on this? And I'll give you what's my most important points that I'm gonna make on about it.
All right. In all fairness, contextually, I have seen the debate, and last night we ran a live stream during the course of the debate, which gives me a bit of an advantage over Rob in this case, because I was forced to watch it and actually had to suffer through 2 hours of exactly what you just saw for 3 minutes. And I'm actually glad that we're discussing it, because save yourselves the time. You can gather everything that you want from that 3-minute clip and save yourself and watch Dune or Dune 2 or something and have some fun. But
Right.
Rob, it's that look that he had throughout the entire night. It wasn't different. He was very monotone. He wasn't very sure of his answers. A lot of times he stumbled over his words. He had a lot of misinformation to where the fact checkers needed to get fact checked. And at the end of the debate, even before the end of the debate, there were tweets, posts through all social forums or through all media outlets, social media, mainstream media, etc., that were actually calling for a change in the candidate that the Democrats are going to put in as theirs for the president. And
Right.
if you did that poorly, that's pretty telling that Yeah, you have this is what we've had for the last 4 years, a guy that is incoherent, slightly maybe out of it a little bit, out of touch considerably,
Right,
but
right.
ultimately, if you look back to 4 years and anybody in America can ask themselves this question and answer it, are you better off now than you were before 4 years ago? Do you think any of us
Right.
are?
Right. I mean, everybody wants you to, make our bank account great again, right? But this is what I get from watching these two. I think Biden is just he's outmatched, man. You know, he's outmatched. He I don't think he can compete with Trump. Needs someone that's this is like a college basketball team playing the Boston Celtics right now. I just don't see how you can watch Biden and hear what he's saying and truly be sold on what's coming out of his mouth. I'm a salesman, so I listen to sales pitches. I'm very I got a very good ear for, the way people sell a product. And I just got to admit, Trump's a businessman. And I see it in what he presents, how he presents it. And a lot of people don't like to hear this, but in the name of this game, it's about sales. It's like you have to sell what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're going to do for the people. And when I hear Trump, I am more sold on that my financial situation is going to be better. I don't care what this is just the truth. I don't care how much you like the left. If you take away the left and the right from these guys and we just looking at sales pitches, all right, I'm just listening to a sales pitch. I'm going to go with Trump. Now, what's important to me was $200 billion going to Ukraine. Under Biden's presidential, and that is alarming. You have to, with prices and everything going so high, I just think it's bad that you got that on your record that's saying that you sent out almost $250 billion out of the country. Okay, I just think that's just a hard one for him to beat. And then another one is the border of Mexico. We see how like the streets are, it's crowded with a lot of immigrants. And Trump said specifically that he wanted to build a wall. So we're hearing what Trump was saying way back then, and we're seeing it come to light. And it's like the things that he was saying would happen, it happened. So that's my case. A lot of people give me a lot of flack for saying, man, Trump, listen, I'm sold on his sales pitch. They give me a lot of heat, but I just have to keep it honest on what these guys are saying and what these guys are saying that they will fix. And there's no way I can agree and want to believe and go with what Biden is saying, in my opinion. Okay. What you say to that, Max?
After having watched the debate, I think that what what Biden should have done last night is not debate Trump, but reassure America and Americans where we are, where we stand, what the future looks like, what the plan is. He was not able to do any of that. He wasn't able to deliver any kind of concise, creative ideas as to a vision moving forward. So I don't see him being able to be the one to spearhead this, obviously next round of administration, whether it be Trump, hopefully, but not Biden. But I don't see that he is capable of doing it. I don't feel that he has what it takes in way of, I don't want to call the man stupid, but you have to be sharper than what he is currently to be able to
Right.
compete mentally with every other major US or world leader for that. And he simply didn't demonstrate that he was able to do that. Now, if you look at it, is you've got these two individuals on the debate stage. Between the two of them, there was a clear winner. There's no way that anybody's going to say Biden did good in that debate.
Right.
And I also watched a little little bit of the RFK debate as well, which he was not able to debate on CNN because he did not make the minimum of 15% polling to participate. And that is why he had his own debate with himself, which was probably more entertaining than what this
Than
debate
this.
was.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
But I think that Trump is on a mission. I think that if you watch the whole debate, he was very focused. He looked just like that. He was ready to attack. He's in attack mode. He seems like he's pissed off about 2020 still. And I don't
Mhm.
blame him because I think a lot of us are pissed off about 2020. And a
Yeah,
lot of the information that was put out yesterday by Biden was simply incorrect. He's saying the 2020 Trump killed us and he shut us down. That's not true. Everybody who can recall that knows that the shutdowns were something that we didn't know that we shouldn't shut down. We didn't have
right.
enough data. We had more misinformation. And for the things that were going on during the course of that time period, it was completely different. And then when you're talking about creating more jobs and the economy was flat, that's because everything was shut down. Nobody was working except for essential workers, if we all remember those words. And then if you want to take credit for boosting and rebuilding the economy, it's not
Mhm.
really you doing it. It's just those jobs, those companies, corporations, all the above reopening.
Right.
So you're taking
Yeah,
credit for something that you had nothing to do with at all.
nothing to do with it all.
And
Right.
nothing to
Shout
do
out
with it
to
all.
Trevor
And
Jackson
if we
TV.
remember,
Yeah. No, shout out to
I was
Trevor
just going to
Jackson.
say,
He gave us a comment. He said, is these two really the best America has? uh
unfortunately, that's what they want us to think. You guys need to understand, and I don't mean to speak over you by any means, Rob, but this is really
no, go ahead.
important. America has a system in place that has been in place since America has been around. The system works perfectly. It is designed to work the way it does. It is designed to keep certain people in certain places, in certain classes, in certain demographics, okay? Because that's
Right.
what the system does. If you don't understand this, then you have to live life a little bit longer and you'll figure it out real fast. You'll figure out the difference between equality and fairness, and you can see which one you don't get. I'll give you a quick example. Equal is two guys making $10 an hour at the same, let's call it a supermarket stocking shelves, and
Okay.
they both work the same amount of hours, make the same
Hmm.
amount of money, but one guy's doing twice as much as the other. That is called they get equal pay, but is it fair work? No. So people need to understand fairness versus equality and then put yourselves in the position of a capitalist country whose primary goal is to continue to grow and build. Money hungry people want and need more money. Capitalism is what is allowing America to operate. We are a giant business, and this is
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
how
This
it
is
is
a
treated.
exactly. This is how it's treated. But I want to bring point to what Trump said. Trump said that inflation is hurting the Black Americans and the Mexican, the Spanish. And I feel like Biden is losing touch of the Black vote. And the reason, and I feel like Trump is he's very nice with, selling to the Black culture because I think he's winning in this regard. I feel like more Blacks are coming on to Trump. And if you like Trump, if somebody says, hey man, I like what Trump is saying, they're gonna combat you with something with racism. They're not gonna
Mhm.
talk about what's at hand or what we see or what we want to change with America today. They're gonna tell you on that they think Trump is racist. Now, Trev Jackson said, are these two the best that America has? I'm pretty sure they're not. But when it comes to, you know, notoriety and it comes to, the position that they're in, they're probably the biggest guys that could get to that point to where they at. I'm pretty sure it's some smart guys, out here that could, but I don't think they could get enough people. They may not have the funds. They couldn't get on a grand stage like these guys can. So sometimes it's not always about having the best as we see with LeBron James and Bronny, it's not always about being the best. It's just about who has the best, how can I put it? Who has the best reference to get there? You know what I mean? Who has the best references and connections to get them in the spot? So I don't think we'll ever be able to say, hey man, we can get the best guy in the, you know what I mean, that can be the president. I think we're gonna have to get the guy that's most who has the, you know, who has the
The
credentials.
best qualifications. Yeah, the
Yeah, the best
best qualifications, the best credentials, the one who's going to be able to shoulder the burden of the entire country, the whole of the US, represent us as one, okay? 360 million people, all black, all white, Hispanic, Asian, all
Does it
kinds of different
matter though,
European.
Max?
It doesn't. It doesn't. That's what. And
Right,
Trevor, I love your comment here. Does the
right,
black vote really matter? Yes, it does matter. It 100% matters. It's just so disproportionate between a 12%, okay, part of the population, which would be the African American or black. I don't mean to say it incorrectly. I'm not trying to be
right.
disrespectful. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
But 12% versus 60%, which is what the white population is, and then the Hispanic population was right around 20, just slightly higher
Okay.
than what the African American population was. So it's a vote that matters more because it means more because there's less of those demographics that are voting. So those would be the votes that you would want to secure the most because the other ones, a lot of the times, historically speaking, people vote on party lines. So if you grew up Democrat or grew up Republican, traditionally you've always voted the same way. That is
Right,
not the way you should do it. You should vote the way that is best for the country as a whole, because we as Americans are here together and we are here to work together and to make this country the best it could be for us. And that should trickle down to the rest of the world. Now, it doesn't matter if we like each other or not. That is a
right,
bonus. We need to work together. If we can get along together, that's even better. That makes it so much more pleasant to be able to do anything that you like without it turning into some kind of drudgery. And color wise,
right,
you know, I don't see, yes, there's color racism. I'm not saying there isn't. But I think the biggest divide is not
right.
the racism in color, it's the financial, economic racism
This
that
is where
is
I'm coming. Right.
really the problem.
This is my opinion, right? On why they put so much effort into the black vote. Because I don't see nobody talking about the Jewish vote or the white vote. Like they don't put no emphasis on there. But I kind of, in my perspective, this is the reason why I think it is important. Because it's more influential. I think just like a content creator, right? I think that it has more influence to what everybody else, would, because Black America is probably seen as the wealth gap and the ones that are at the bottom. So I feel like if you get that group, I feel like you can have a good influence on what everybody else, that can, I'm here to help, the bottom. So if I care about the bottom, now that'll make everybody else kind of pour in and say, okay, so you guys can follow me now because we're trying to help. We're here to help the people. And I think that's the game of it. I could be wrong. That's just my opinion, but that's a good point that Trevor Jackson definitely made. But that's what I think it is. I
Absolutely.
think it's more of an influence, than we just need the black vote. I just think it's more of, it's a sympathy thing. Like we got the bottom, we can help them out, and everybody else is just gonna fall in line. Like, yeah, you guys are doing the right thing. But what you think, Max? I mean, you kind of explained it.
I think here's an answer in two parts, I guess is the best way I could explain it. And I'll do it this way first. Starting at the border. The majority of the migrants that are coming into the United States illegally, you have to understand, are coming from south of us, which is going to be South America, Central America, Mexico, etc. Now,
Right.
these are democratic countries that they are coming from, okay? So they are coming
Right.
from democratic countries
Right.
into another democratic country. They already know how bad the policies of the Democrats in their own countries are. They're coming here, getting able to be a citizen and, you know, waiting, doing what it takes, taking the time to be able to become a citizen. The majority, and this is actually, we can pull up statistics and show people if they want to see, they do not vote Democrat once they become citizens because
Right.
that's exactly the shit they got away from. And that's what they
Right.
don't want here. And a lot of people don't understand that. They think that why are they coming here and they're flooding the borders? Oh, I understand why they're flooding the borders because their country is even worse than the one they're trying to come to. And I'm not saying America is the worst country. America is the greatest country on the planet, but it is the worst, best country in the planet, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
And then the second
appreciate.
part of it,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to
No,
cut you
no,
off.
go
Go
ahead.
for it,
Go
sir.
ahead. Go ahead to your second part.
I was going to say, in as far as the Democrats and the way that they've treated the whether it's the black community, the African American community, the black male community prior to 1870, or the black female community past 1919 after the 19th Amendment, I think that the Democrats have rode off the coattails of the black people slash people of color far too long and used them to scapegoat and push forward their own agenda and their narratives while not giving two shits about the black people.
Right.
That's me being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree. I definitely.
Because if you're not bringing in money and you're not a part of the system and you're not contributing to the system in way of paying in, and let's say you're on a program like welfare, and for those who don't understand, any program paid by the government is considered socialist. Keep that in mind. That's not Max's rules, that's fact. And when you are on welfare, the government is paying you. So you're not paying into the system anymore. The system owns you. You rely so heavily on the
right.
system that if anything happens to it, your life is in shambles. And
Right.
that's the reality for a lot of people. And unfortunately, the ones that suffer the most happen to be the ones in the demographics that it doesn't necessarily have to do with race, color, creed, or religion. It's demographically where they are financially. And when you have interest rates that continue to climb and don't go down, when you have inflation that is 2, 3, 400% higher than it was without any kind of compensation in order to raise wages, nobody in that lower tier is going to be able to make it. And that is exactly where America is right now.
Right. And I definitely agree with what you're saying to that. And what I feel like, and this is a very important, I'm gonna get to Trevor Jackson points, but what
Trevor's great. Thank you, Trevor.
yeah, what I feel about the black vote is what's important to a stat for black people to understand is that black farmers and their families have lost more than $326 billion in wealth due to a loss of active farmland since 1920. This loss of land represents a systematic barrier of black Americans' ability to build generational wealth. So the black families, and they don't talk about this in the Democratic Party. This is what makes me suspect of what they're doing, because if we see in the early 1900s, the black farmland, we owned probably about 20 million acres. Now we're about at 2.9
At least.
million acres, of farmland.
Yes.
Now today that could be at $326 billion. So we don't talk about these numbers. And when you show me that you kicking out $200 billion to Ukraine, and my people have lost a total of what we see, and I'm not talking about the businesses that could have been on those lands. I'm just talking about farmland and $326 billion. It's going to make me question, what is your policies doing and what are they for? you know, and
Who are
that's
they
how I.
working for? Because clearly it's not for the United States or its people, because if that was the case, then why did an article come out today from the Supreme Court saying that they are gonna make it illegal for homeless people to sleep in front of national monuments or buildings in Washington? Came out
Right.
today. Why couldn't we spend some
Hmm.
of that Ukraine money, made something to help out the homeless? Because a lot of them are
Yeah.
ex-military, a lot of them have unchecked mental health issues, a lot of them, might be suffering from substance abuse. I don't know. I don't ask
Right.
every one of them, but I know that if they have a choice, they probably would not like to be out on the street.
Hmm. Right.
I think
Now,
that's common sense with anybody.
yeah. Yeah. Now, Trev Jackson said something. He said, after researching the crime bill and experiencing the effects of it, I could never vote for Biden. That's another one that's on I love as well, because in 1994, that's when that crime bill
Super
came out.
predator.
Yeah,
Yep.
we've had more incarceration, and it's big business. We understand. We can see now in 2024 the business it is of private prisons is making
Oh,
on
yeah.
on crime. You know, so I guess all of this stuff comes to light as time goes on, and we can see now that that's why a lot of people don't want to vote for Biden as well. He got a lot of stuff on his belt that is hard for him to dodge, and that crime bill is one of them, in my opinion. All right.
100%. It was designed specifically to target a demographic that they perceived as being a threat to society, or remember, a menace to society. You remember those terms?
Mm-hmm.
These
Yep.
were all the same terminology that they used, and I remember this because I was around. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm not a young guy
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And they pushed it so hard to where it was I'd call it fear mongering. That's
Right.
how bad it was. And it was designed for a certain demographic, and he can deny that all he wants, and so can the Democrats, but anybody who has even, you can have one brain cell and you can figure this out yourself.
Right. Yeah. We can understand the corruption, but I think it's still hope. I don't want to just trash on everything America has, but I do feel like we got to get the corruption out. Now, when we were talking about farmland, Trev Jackson said China owns most of the farmland today, and I can see why. I can understand that, and it's a problem because now we got people that are not Americans. There, instead of us making sure we taking care of our own, now we got people from other countries that's coming in here because they got the American dollar, and now they can take control, and it's hurting all of us, white, black, brown, whatever. Trev says something where class is important. It's not about race, it's about class, because you could be black and you could be in a top class, you could be white and you could be in the bottom. You're gonna
Bottom
fit with
class.
whatever class you're in, you know.
Wherever the system has found a place for you is where you are going to be. That
Yeah.
is the whole purpose of it. That's what I'm saying. They're gonna find you a place in the system. Even if you're in a position like me,
Right.
medically disabled and, what's it called? Handicap. They still think, even though I'm medicated and I can fall asleep even right now talking, that I should be able to go out and work, operate machinery like I used to be able to do, working on
Right.
semi trucks, everything else. Physically, I cannot do it. Mentally, I'm still sharp, but I'm also not capable to do the same things that I was before I was injured. But the government, the system, they don't care, because
Right.
they will tell you this: even though you're not able to do anything and everything, you can still do something. We just need to find out
Yeah.
what it is.
Right. Just got to find out what it
They
is. Now
will.
you alerted me something, and I want to touch on this. You alerted me that the U.S. General issues a report calling gun violence a public health crisis. Now, I
Mhm.
think different people is gonna have different opinions on this. Okay. But I want to get your opinion first. I'm gonna give you mine. Gun violence, is it a public health crisis to you? What would you say?
I think that if you want to sharpen a toothpick on the floor, then you have an
Mhm.
assault toothpick, a shank. If you use it as that, then that's what it is. If you
Mhm,
have a long rifle and use it to assault someone, now you have an assault rifle.
mhm.
I think that what it comes down to is people that nobody should necessarily be denied their Second Amendment right to bear arms for defending themselves, their family, their country, their property, etc. And I understand where there are certain conditions, felonies, etc., that would not allow you to own a firearm, and that part is good. There are people that should not own firearms, plain and simple, whether it's because they are ex-felons, whether it's because they are not mentally stable, whether it's because that's just not the kind of guy you want to put a gun in his hand. Whatever the case may be, I'm not going to tell you that everybody should have a gun, even though it's everybody's right to have a gun. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, it's
I
everybody's right
think
to have a gun, yeah, but
everybody
everybody
in
should
America
have a
has
gun.
correct.
But
I
what
think that responsible gun owners are never the ones that give any real argument about more oversight or more regulation or more laws because they understand that that's not what the problem is. The problem is the wrong people getting their hands on tools that they turn into weapons and use against one another.
right,
I
but
don't
how do we
know how
determine
you
who are the wrong people? Because I know, listen, coming up in, urban communities, right? And I'm just gonna give you my experiences being a young man, having a gun as a young man. Uh, I guess I can say because of the movies, because of probably what we seen when I first had that gun and it gave me a sense of power, you know. I felt different, I felt
yeah.
like, man, I don't know, that feeling just made my chest poke out a little bit more, right? And I know guys where I grew up from, when once they experience with guns, I think they do more and they will say more and put themselves in situations that I don't think they would have if they wouldn't have a gun. Now, does that mean guns should not be allowed? No, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that we see with who guns are really affecting and the people that have guns. I'm just giving you my experience of how it made me feel, but it's a war going on in the US in the black community. I mean, every day is shots being fired, here in
They even
Florida,
stopped reporting about it in Chicago.
right? I mean, I'm from Florida, and
Seriously.
what I'm telling you is it's not a day that goes by where a black man is not being killed, a black man is not being shot, kids are not being killed. So from me, it's definitely a crisis, but it's because of the war zone that's going on. It's like a war that we don't know about, but if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, you could die, just by a
Oh
straight
yeah.
bullet. So I understand
There
both
was a
sides. Yeah.
S same thing like here in Kansas City. Every day, there are homicides, every day, and it goes through all demographics, but generally, I'm not seeing millionaires shoot other millionaires. You see what I'm saying? It's
Right.
it's
Right.
targeted towards certain demographics, and it's always the same story. 18th and Vine, 39th and Charlotte, it's
It's just crazy. I mean, I came up in the era to where, I mean, I didn't I think I could say 10 years ago I came up in an era where I seen now where we got rap videos that guys, especially in Florida, like we got it to where rap guys are actually killing each other and having beefs on rap music and they're dying, and it's like it's nobody that can stop this. The police
no.
can't stop it. The feds can't stop it. Black people can't stop it. The Surgeon General can't stop it. So it's like, I don't know where to go with the gun situation. I know I want to have one for my safety, but it's just a tough situation to really, we're going to have to need everybody to stand on one accord. But I don't think all of the jails and the feds and just arresting people is not working. You know what I mean?
No. it's not incarceration and rehabilitation are completely different things. Anybody who's ever been incarcerated, and I'm one of those guys, and I
Right.
can tell you that being incarcerated is, if you go in and you're not, you know, you're not on your toes, your game isn't as sharp as it should be, you're not the best criminal. That's pretty much training
Where you
to
gonna go?
become
Yeah.
a
A
better
better
criminal.
criminal.
And the
Yeah.
more a better criminal. Now the best criminals, they're not the ones locked up. They're still out here. They got a lot of them, but the ones that you need to worry about, they're not behind bars yet. At the same time, with me personally, I've had a
Mhm.
gun since, actually I was still living in Florida in Orlando when I got my first piece. Guy gave it to me that I worked with for my dad. It was a little
Right.
22. I still got it laying around. And ever since I was, what, 13, 14 years old? You know, nobody gives a shit back
Wow.
then. I've always had it. And I've got plenty of guns. I'm never going to stop buying guns or ammo. It's just not going to happen. And the one thing is that, you know, I open carry, I conceal carry. It's perfectly legal in the state that I'm in. And for the most part, it's legal across the United States. In case you were not aware, the castle law is an extension of your house. You can keep a, however you want to protect yourself is your right. Just make sure that you follow through and know your laws. I'm not encouraging anybody or inciting any kind of violence, but I think that if we're talking about guns and we're talking about violence, you need to be aware of what your responsibility and what your rights and what laws apply to you in your particular situation. My situation here, very cut and clear, no problems with guns. Don't do anything irresponsible with them. That's the way it should be with everybody. But kind of like Rob said, how do we determine who that person is and who that person isn't?
Because I mean, if you tell me, you know what I mean, I'm gonna say I don't want to say, you know, people in, because people in the inner city needs to protect themselves, but it's just seeming like it does more damage than good, you know. And I don't want to say,
And I think
man,
that's kind of what Trevor's saying also too, because looking at Trevor's comments here, he's kind of in the same situation that's making it more difficult because they're making it more easy.
yeah,
You know, right
yeah,
now, if the Surgeon General is declaring gun violence as a national health crisis, an emergency, then why did the Supreme Court, what, a week ago, allow uh, bump stocks to be legalized again? Also, they allowed silencers to be legal again. This is all throughout the United States. And in case you were also not aware of this fact, when Democrats are in office, they
right,
push the highest amount of gun laws and regulations in the world, in the
right.
US. I'm sorry.
Facts,
At the
facts.
same time, they also sell more weapons than anyone else.
And this is why, like we said, it makes like what Trev Jackson said with the crime bill and everything else, it kind of plays its way. Just like, do you think violent crime contributes to population control? Like, is that something that helps the situation? Because a lot of people dying in the inner cities, that's, you know, they don't got a pot to piss in, but they got ammo and they got guns. But other than
Yep.
that, you know, they're poor. They don't have, you know, no home ownership, no land. They don't have anything. Like, why is that on your top priority list? And we got more people filling up these jails. So if we look at the results, we're saying that it has to be people. There definitely is people that's benefiting from this, right? And there's definitely people that is hurting. But it doesn't seem like they want to stop it. It seems like this is good because I mean, in the inner city, it's mass shootings almost every day, but we don't see it. We'll
Right now.
watch the news
Right now, someone's getting shot right now. Right
three
now,
or
we're
four
having the
people
show.
are getting
Somebody's getting
shot.
shot right now. Yes, right now.
But we'll look at the news and they'll show us, like, you know, people that's getting shot at schools and say, oh, this is a mass shooting and all of this. But it is a war going on in the inner city all across the world that we kind of ignore. So, man, I don't know what
It
to, you know.
remind
Go
Do you
ahead.
remember, I think it was during the second, yeah, during the 2020 presidential debate, and I don't remember the exact, it was somewhere in Missouri around the St. Louis area, an affluent subdivision of
Yeah.
the St. Louis area. There was a lot of protesters that went into this gated community, and the
Mhm.
community that they went in was predominantly white. Protesters happened
Right.
to be predominantly black.
Right.
And as far as class goes, their demographic was in a far lower financial class than the neighborhood that they were going and protesting at. But what happened was, and you probably remember, some of the homeowners came out on their front porch, front yard, and they had their weapons out.
Right. Wow.
But they didn't shoot anybody. They didn't, threaten to shoot anybody. But just the fact that they were willing to go to that level and step up and pull out their guns for people protesting through their neighborhood, to me, that's insane because that's
Insane.
also one of our rights.
Right. Definitely one of our rights. Yeah, to protect yourself. It's a tough one, depending on who you ask and depending on their demographic and what they're seeing. But I mean, here in Florida, it's like every guns is you can walk to the grocery store and you could probably you can be putting your groceries in your trunk and you can see somebody open their trunk and you'll see rifles. It's not, you can look at people and you can see the hip poking out. It makes you want to have a firearm because you like, man, look, I'm outnumbered, and it makes you want to make sure you got firearms. But I don't think it's gonna be. I mean, what we gonna do? Kill each other? You know what I mean? I talked to a
That's
lady.
what they would like for us to do.
Right. I talked to a lady who came from Bahrain. It's a Middle Eastern country. And she said that it's no violence over there at all. It's like it's no violence. It's people not stealing. It's people not doing. And I was shocked because I'm like, how in the world could you do that? Like if you take somebody from America and you take them to one of these countries where it's like it's no violence, no one wants to hurt their fellow countrymen. They don't want to have that. They want to show love and prosperity, and they want everybody to be doing well. And that's what I want for Americans. I want Americans to feel like that about everybody. Like we don't got to feel like everybody got to be a person that we may have to shoot. You know what I'm saying? It's
That's
like
how
we
we're
look
taking
at
it
them
right
like,
now. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you could be an enemy. Like I got to be prepared because I might have to shoot you. You know what I mean? And I understand because I've been in some situations myself where I've been home invaded. I shot a guy in my house before. I mean he lived to see another day, but it's still that mentality I was in. It was just like somebody's out to get me, so I got to get them before they get me. And that's not a mentality that's good for health. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
In my opinion.
the,
But
the thing is that your experiences in life, my experiences in life, and possibly even Trevor's and the millions of others out there, we can relate to a lot of things and we can empathize with one another. But the other part of it is that a lot of the other people, they can't relate one bit to it at all because they're they've never had to go through any of that shit.
yeah, it's
I
foreign
remember
to 'em.
coming in as a poor
Yeah.
immigrant and being able to speak English, have a dollar or anything in my name, getting fucked with the people, and I didn't even understand why. So I get it. It's
Right.
the world will either make you hard or make you soft, or it'll just keep you stupid.
Yeah, either or, right? I mean, pick one. So
But you gotta be able
yeah,
to figure it out, and Trevor's got it figured out because he understands what's going on.
and that's why we need more independent media. That's why I really, take pride on making sure I had these talks and trying to push this out because we need more of independent media and guys that's really truly speaking the truth and talking about this because it just seems like the same cycle is keep happening and we not having these talks to really invoke change. And that's what I really want to see. I want to see change for the better for America, man. I don't want to see killings every day. And, I'm afraid to go out past 11, 12 o'clock without my firearm because, it may be a shootout and, somebody may want to do something to me. It's just not, that's not a place where you want to raise a family, in conditions like that. You know what I mean?
100%. And could I share a quick story, Rob?
Yeah, go ahead.
Last year, this was in May, it was Memorial Day weekend. I had my surgery on my leg. It was in end of March. So by May, I was walking ish, able to move around. I was able to walk and move around. I had a longtime customer of mine, call me, and her daughter and some of her friends had gone down to Chicago for the Memorial Day weekend. They had never been there before, and as Murphy's Law would have it, their vehicle broke down on them. Now, I've known the lady for 10, 15 years.
Right.
Great lady, love her to death. Love her children, both of them, Marcellus and Amanda. Uh, and great kids, great kids. So she calls me up. She tells me what the situation is. I'm not working on cars anymore at this point. I'm injured. I'm not really able to do a whole lot. But what I did do was I got a trailer. I hooked it up to my truck. I drove to Chicago, and they were staying right off of Champlain. It was Piru neighborhood, which
Hmm.
was it was funny because I had my Trump hat on and big white boy
Right.
walking around sleeved up, but it didn't bother me. I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. And I go to tell the story before, or I was telling my wife what I was doing before I left, and she goes, "You go where? Pick up who? Are you crazy? You know what they're doing in Chicago?" Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not worried about it. It's okay. I live in Skokie, Illinois. I'm not. It's gonna be fine." And I go down there, and gunshots all throughout the night, nonstop.
Wow. Yeah.
Nonstop.
Wow.
And demographically speaking, it was interesting, and I'm glad that, and it doesn't matter. I don't care what color anybody is. You can be green, purple, doesn't matter. I don't care what color you are. This customer of mine, my friend, she happens to be white, but her children are mixed, which
Black.
makes no difference to me.
Yeah.
And then the other kids that I don't even know, they had to be homosexuals. So I'm driving around homosexuals all over the place. And I actually took them back to Columbia, Missouri, took the car back here, had it taken care of for them. I'm not a hero. I'm not patting myself on the back or toot my horn, but I'm just saying that Chicago is as bad as they say it is. And there's a reason they don't report on it anymore because it's gotten even fucking worse.
Worse. Yeah. Definitely. I can understand that. So, all right, we got our politics out of the way. Now, we're going to transition into the LeBron James. This has been a big topic. A lot of people they feel like Bronny James didn't deserve to be drafted, right? And I'm going to give my point on this. I want you to give your point on this. I think that a lot of things are at play when you get drafted. And if your dad is LeBron James, that helps your resume because of his success, right? Just like if you was jumping out the gym or you was a great shooter, whatever your attributes is, that's just one of his attributes, right? I don't see nothing wrong with, him getting drafted, for his potential because of we seen what his dad did, right? And this happens in a lot of sports. This been happening. A lot of players have been drafted, have went to teams, college teams, whatever, because their dad or they had genes that, they had, great players in their family. So I would think that, you're going to practice hard, you're going to train hard. Your ability to possibly get better is higher than a player that probably don't have a dad in the NBA. You get what I'm saying? So
Yes.
my point is that we all have certain, pros and we got cons, and it don't matter. You got to take the pros and the cons that you got, and you still got to roll with it. We'll see how he does in the NBA, but there have been busts. There have been people who've been drafted number 1 overall, and they're nothing. They didn't even make it. Like, they're trash. You get me?
DeAndre Ayton. Sorry,
Right.
Dave.
We got it. So my point with this is that we got to see what this guy does in the league before we talk about is he worth being drafted, because it's been a lot of players in all sports that hasn't been worth drafting after they got drafted. You get me?
Yep. 100%.
But I can understand what people are saying on, like, he only averaged 3 points, 4 points. But give me your take, Max. Do you feel like, if you're a GM, right, do you feel like a team would have drafted him other than the Lakers?
No. I
No.
think he would have gone undrafted 100%. They would have been able to pick him up, save that draft pick, get somebody they actually needed versus somebody that one of the players wanted to have with him so he can continue on his legacy and be the Ken Griffey senior and junior of the NBA. That's fine. That's great. But at that point, you're putting yourself and your own ego and hubris ahead of the team, the organization, and that part I don't like. I don't like Rich Paul's involvement with the whole thing, telling people to stay away, don't draft Bronny, because I don't think anybody was going to draft Bronny to begin with. And with the influence that LeBron has over the Lakers organization between Pelinka and Jeannie Buss, which has done a
Right.
terrible job, in my opinion, of running this
Mhm.
organization, between losing Jerry West and not giving him his due respect and actually disrespecting the man by taking away his season tickets when you did.
Right.
Magic Johnson to get rid of him because he saw the writing on the wall when LeBron was going to come in, getting rid of coaches as though they're the problem. I don't like the way the Lakers organization has dealt with situations since LeBron has been a part of that organization, just because he has too much control. His job is to play basketball, to score points, get rebounds,
Right.
dish out assists, and play basketball. He's not a GM. He's not a coach. He can be a mentor, sure, but you got to know your role and you got to stay in it. At this point in time, I'm very disappointed in the Lakers for wasting that draft pick on
Draft pick.
LeBron. I,
All
yeah,
right. So let
it
me
was a
ask you a
waste of a
question.
draft pick.
Right. So Max, let me ask you a question. Let's say you were in the NBA, right? You made it to the NBA. You got a son, right? You got the ability, you got the power. This is your son, right? He's coming up, you can draft him. All right. You got the power. I know what you're saying. You're saying, like, no, he should just be a player. But let's just say you got that, you got that prestige. You're there, you can do this, right? Would you want to draft your son? Would you draft your son if they
No,
gave you the power to say, hey, listen, we give you total control. If you want to get your son, we'll draft your son. If you want to play with him, they give you that total control. Do you draft your son?
my answer would be no, and only because it's not the LeBron James Lakers, and I have to do what's in the best interest of my team and my organization in that locker room in order to get wins, which are going to translate into championships. And I don't see Bronny James at number 55 being that key piece, that needed addition that is going to get us over the hump into the next round and with another championship. That being
Right.
said, there are plenty of players that they could have gotten instead of him. But
The
because of the
second
influence of
round,
his father,
yeah, but the second round really don't breed like majority. Like who do you know was a player that came in the league in the second round that meant that was a give me a second round player that you feel like really did some damage in the NBA.
Jokic,
Jokic was a second round pick.
I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Nah,
I'll double
man.
check.
Double check, fact check that. But I'm gonna go over what Trevor Jackson said. He said if I was a player in the league, I would treat Bronny like how they're doing Caitlin Clark. Ooh, that's a blow. That's a blow.
I'm,
That's a blow, Trev. Woo, that's a blow. So I think it's gonna be hard for Bronny. Now, is it true? Let's look up that. Was Jovic drafted in the second round? I don't think so. I think he was a first round player.
he was
He was, right?
dun, 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 second round, 41st pick overall.
Yep, you
And
right.
one-time champion, three-time MVP. I'm just saying.
You right.
I'm
You
saying.
right. Oh, he said
It's
Trevor Jackson said Scottie Pippen. Right? Okay.
Scotty. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I
88.
mean,
And speaking of Scottie Pippen, LeBron James had Scottie Pippen's son on his team. They drafted Scottie Pippen's son. Scottie Pippen
right.
Jr. was a Laker. They had Max Christie, Doug Christie's son on the Lakers. Also, well, I don't. Did Doug Christie win anything? I know he didn't win anything with the Queens, but I can't remember
The
if
Queens.
he. Yeah, it's just a Kings thing. After they left Kansas City, I don't, no love, no love.
Okay,
But
so
yeah, I
all right,
mean,
right. So basically, you saying with LeBron, right? They could have drafted a better player. I don't see nothing wrong with them doing it, but I can understand where people would be coming from. They could have got him as an undrafted free agent, but for him being drafted, you know what I mean? If I was in position of LeBron, I'm drafting my son. Okay, I'm drafting him. I mean, if he want to be drafted, if he like, yo, I want to play with you, dad. If my son told me, look, man, I want to build my own, I want my own legacy, man. I get you, but I want to be on my, I want to do my thing, man. I'm talented enough. And I'll be like, look, son, I don't think you're going to get drafted. I can better train with you. I can do a lot. I can be there with you. I can show you how these ropes is. I think you need to be up under my supervision. I'm not trying to son you all your life, but I'm just trying to make sure that you're getting the right guidance and I can show you how this thing works. So that's where I feel that, it's best for Bronny to go with LeBron because he's going to be able to be pushed more than, anywhere else. His dad is going to push him. He going to work. He going to have to work now. One thing about Bron is Bron's going to work. He going to practice and he going to work. So I see it both ways. If he just wanted to build his own legacy, but I just don't feel like he's not a good enough player that, he wouldn't get the notoriety in the NBA like that right now. He needs more work. You get me? So
absolutely no. It's the same dynamic as Ken Griffey and Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. is a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying?
his
There,
dad
and,
was a
and you
Hall of
could
Famer too,
see,
though, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But you could see in that characteristic of how, I mean, they're like the same person. It's crazy watching them together. But even at that young age, back in what was that, 89 when he came out as a
89.
rookie for the
Mhm,
for the Mariners.
mhm.
I mean, he was poised, he was professional, he was out there, he was playing, he was amazing. And prior to that, he was already amazing and had proven himself enough without even having to, you know, I don't want to say coattails of his dad, but it wasn't necessary because he already had that much talent. He got that from his dad. So if we kind of compare the two,
Bron got
Bronny
talent.
looks, yes,
Got talent,
he
but
does
I
have
just
talent.
feel like his size. He's not in this day and
He's
age.
well undersized.
He's well in size, but
He's,
he's athletic, But
yes.
this is a tall man's game. He's about 6'1", 6'2". So yeah, he could possibly play the point, but I feel like he has an overall game to where he could play defense. He can shoot the ball. He's not a shooter, but he can shoot. He's got an all-around game where he's not bad at anything, but he's not great at anything. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's
And
still room.
that's just
It's still
time and development.
right. It's still room for him to grow, in my opinion. He can still grow and get better. Trev Jackson said players are going to be playing extra defense on Bronny. This just made his time in the NBA twice as tough.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's another thing too. You take, your dad takes you under his
Definitely.
wing, you can see the positives, but there's also a negative, just like there's an equal and opposite to everything else. There's no difference in this.
It's a
A lot of
microscope
people,
over. Yeah, it's a microscope over his stats. They're going to be looking at everything. It's going to be pressure. He's going to have to perform. Will he perform? I think he'll do good enough to be in the league. I don't think he's just going to be a trash player at all. But his shooting percentage, he got to be shooting at least 34, 35% from three, in my opinion.
yeah,
If
it
he's
was,
under
it was,
29%,
yeah, it was bad. And
yes,
that's,
you're not.
and it's a small sample size that we had with them last year at USC. The USC program had some complaints against it by LeBron and Bronny and others. So it might not have been the right fit for him. I get that. But I will say this one thing, and I think this is probably the most telling thing to the Bronny James being drafted argument. Does anybody honestly believe that if LeBron James wasn't his dad and on the Lakers, that Bronny would have got drafted?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that much already. You
I
see what I'm
think he
saying?
would
To
have got
where,
into the NBA. He would have got
yes,
picked up.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
he would have picked up. And sometimes it
But
really don't
not
matter.
drafted.
Yeah. If you get into the NBA and you make an impact, you make an impact. Whether you got drafted or you didn't get drafted. I don't know much players that were undrafted that was really good. I can't name you none, but I'm sure there are some, you know. I'm sure there
Yeah, I
are,
mean, there's
got to be some out there. But Trev Jackson says as a point guard, he's trash. You know, he can't start on half the teams in college right now. Whoo. Woo. Yeah,
Trev, let me ask you this. How do you feel about LeBron, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, that's a good question, but however you feel about LeBron, you got to acknowledge that he played 20 years in the league. Unless you're gonna say, you know, he cheated and he took performance enhancing drugs or something like that, you gotta put him in as one of the greatest of all times, you know.
You may not like him, but it's
You
true.
may not
As
like
much
him,
as
right?
I
Because
do for him.
I didn't like him once after he left Miami Heat. I was a big Miami Heat fan, and I didn't like him before he was in Miami. Once he was in Miami, I loved him. But once he left Miami, it was like I don't care for him anymore. But
No, he just abandoned me. Like,
right,
I said, "Wow, he just left."
so
You
uh, he
Yeah,
says,
okay.
I live in
Trevor
basketball
likes him.
country. Trev said, I live in basketball country in the Carolinas, and he is not starting point guard in the NBA, period. Name one he would start over. Oh, yeah, I can't name a point guard he would start over. But definitely Carolina is the basketball capital of the world. I like LeBron.
Chapel
He is legend.
Hill, Raleigh,
Yeah,
much
yeah,
love, North Carolina. The baby.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Shout out to Dave and Raw Sports, man. He from Carolina. They from the Carolinas. Raw Sports. Dave put Derrick Jones Jr. You talking about the guy who played for Dallas Mavericks? He played for the Heat too. I think that's who he talking about.
Let me see. Hi, Dave.
I think that's who he talking about, man. And I mean, he's nice. Yeah, that is who he talking about. He's talking about Derrick Jones Jr. He a straight player. I mean, he's not. He came in undrafted. He played for a lot of teams, but I don't consider him. I would say Duncan Robinson. He's probably one of the best, or he's the highest
Undrafted.
paid undrafted
Between
player.
him and Max
Miami
Strus.
Heat. Yep. He plays for the Miami Heat, and he makes the most money of any undrafted player that's ever. So he may have to get the best, but I mean, there's probably some undrafted player that was better than him. But I got to give it to LeBron. We got to give LeBron his flowers. All right. We got to give
It was
LeBron
hard
his
for me to
flowers.
say, but I respect the man for being able to play as long as he has been. Has it been all sunshine and rainbows and great? No, but it's been entertaining and it's kept the league afloat. I wish him the best in anything and everything that he does with his career going forward after his career is over. And the same thing that I wished for him, I wish for Bronny and for Bryce if he decides to go into the NBA and follow in his father's footsteps. But I wish both of those young men nothing but the best, and I hope that they can succeed and find success, whether it be in the NBA as a player or in the NBA at all, or just in life in general. You'll find your place, but it might not be the first one that you stop at. So,
Okay.
we'll
Okay. Now, do you feel like LeBron is better than Jordan?
no.
No. Okay. What if I
No.
would say this, right? LeBron can play every position on the court.
Yeah.
Right? You could put him anywhere, he's dominant. Could you say the same thing about Jordan?
I would say that if Jordan was put in a position to where he had to play the point forward hybrid role that LeBron has at times, or having to go in and fill in for anything, a 4 or a 5, would Jordan be able to do it because he's a competitor and he wants to be able to compete against the best? Yes. Would he be as effective as LeBron without having the athleticism? Probably not. But
Mm.
is he up to the task, up to the challenge? 100%.
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah. Jordan he definitely up to the challenge. But my point is just saying I do believe that Jordan statistically he was a better player statistically championship wise. But if I'm talking about athleticism, if I'm talking about physique, if I'm talking about a created player, he may be the player that you can just be interchangeable. You know what I mean? You can put him anywhere. You can put him at the 5. You can put him at the 1. It's not too many players. It's probably never going to be a player. What, Magic Johnson, maybe you could say that for. But in that regard, I can say that he may be the best athlete, you know what I mean, of all time. But not the basketball player as far as skilled, in my opinion.
Yeah, skill-wise, as far as having options and offensive weaponry in a big bag, as we like to call it, Jordan is Santa Claus. He's got bags hanging off him like bells. The man was incredible, and the one thing that is important to really understand when it comes to debating basketball or even football, which people don't do as much as basketball. People love basketball the best, and I don't blame them because I do too, is that
Right.
we need to be able to debate it in a way that is going to be less decisive than what we currently do. What I mean by that is instead of comparing Jordan to LeBron, why don't we go either by position? Okay. Point guard to point guard, shooting guard to
Right.
shooting guard, power forward, etc. Or we also need to consider the eras in which these guys play. Why is that important? I'll tell you, because the technology we have today, whether it be from training, whether it be from the equipment that they wear, the jerseys, the sneakers, the flights they have, the training, the nutritionist, everything, those things weren't always around at the beginning of the league's inception, and they've grown and developed over time, and that has also helped with performance of the athletes and enhanced the game. So I don't like having the GOAT conversation. I think that everybody's
Right.
got their favorite, and I think that if we
Subjective.
actually have yeah, but I think if you wanna have an objective conversation, then you have to put it together, but you can't have a hybrid position and try to compare them to a just a regular point guard, if that makes sense. You gotta be able to compare apples to apples in order to get a
Right.
more accurate
So follow.
barometer on what you're looking at.
Right. Right. I agree. Trav said LeBron flops. The Knicks and the Pistons created the Jordan rules. If he comes to the hole, foul him. Yeah, I think that Jordan played in a more rough. He played where it was rougher. That's
Yeah,
that's why I respect Jordan a lot more because he was tougher. That's what I feel like. He's tougher. He was in a more
100%.
you know, stronger era. Like I think LeBron physically he could have played in the era. I think he could have still played in the era because he plays bully ball. Right now, LeBron bullies the NBA. He goes down the court and he just out muscles people sometimes and dunk. Is he could definitely play in that era. Like I don't want y'all to act like LeBron wouldn't be able to play in that era. Like he's definitely got that physicality that he could do it. But
I think he would probably do better in that era than this era, to be honest with you, because of his physicality, and he would have to adapt to the game, and he would you know what? Between Dr. J and Larry Bird choking each other out in games, Michael Jordan choking out other players during games, it happened all throughout the '80s. No fouls, no whistles, keep playing. So I
yeah,
think
but
that if
LeBron's a nice
LeBron played
guy.
that
Like
same time,
yeah, but I think in those era, man, it was badass time. Everybody was badasses. It wasn't LeBron's more of he's not he don't have that aggression to me. Jordan had that aggression. He'll choke you out on the court. Like he'll punch, he punched
literally,
Steve
yeah.
Kerr in the eye. These guys are
Yeah, he did.
physical. Yeah, they're badasses. LeBron to me is not a badass. He's a good guy, bro. He's not trying to really much, He ain't roughing up his players. He ain't getting into no little skirmishes. In my opinion, he's a good guy. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just feel like, for him playing in that era, he would have to change his mentality. He would have to be a killer. He would have to be a badass. You know what I mean?
Choice.
And it's
He
just
wouldn't have
not
a
him.
choice, otherwise he wouldn't last.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
he got the physicality too, but his mentality isn't like that killer instinct. You know what I mean?
A lot of guys right now that are looking at basketball and watching it in today's version that don't look back in some of the games from the 80s and the 90s really don't understand how physical this game was. I'm talking, these people were on the court killing one another to win a basketball game. Blood, teeth missing. It was the greatest time to watch basketball ever. And if you
Right.
guys want to do it, get on the YouTube and find some of these old videos and see what these guys were able to do. It's incredible. And it'll
Yeah.
make you appreciate the game that you're watching now that much more.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, because I try to watch Jerry West. My dad tells me about Elgin Baylor and all of these old guys. I haven't seen them, but he tell me how great they were. And when I was watching basketball with him, I'm like, Dad, bro, I don't think they can compete right now. He's like, oh man, you crazy, man. These guys were, they would dominate now. But when I look at their highlights, I can, say, yeah, it's some guys that would have been great in any era. It don't matter what era it is. But I'm with Trev, man. I love that era, man. I love that era of sports, man. I love the rough era. It was just something about it, man. It just made me want to watch it all the time. He said Steve
Yeah,
Kerr
and I'll
started.
still rewatch it. I love it.
Yeah,
What Dave say? Steve Kerr started first.
Steve Kerr started it. Yeah.
Mike finished it though.
Michael Jordan punched him in the eye. Michael Jordan
True
was a bully,
story.
man. People got to understand. He bullied Kwame Brown. He was a bully. He stood on how he felt. And I liked that about Michael. Like, you know what I mean? Not that he just was a bully, but it's just that, Michael was somebody that you don't play with, And I just like that kind of, when people have that aura about themselves. It's like, yeah, I'm
Oh,
just one of them guys that you just don't, you don't play with.
and everybody trying to test Mike. I mean, everybody who played with Mike has that Michael Jordan story. Reggie Miller's got his Michael Jordan story. I think
Yeah.
Reggie Miller's who Michael Jordan choked out once, at least once.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
everybody. Charles Barkley got a Michael Jordan story. Karl Malone got more than one. Uh, Gary Payton, Sean Kemp, Charles Barkley. Like I said, you got all these guys that tell these awesome stories, and it's not just about Jordan. There's awesome Larry Bird stories, Magic Johnson stories, Isaiah Thomas stories, James Worthy. There's so many great players. Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Bob Cousy, Bob Pettit. We have so many greats we're missing. Bill Russell, Will Chamberlain, Bill Walton, rest in peace.
Right.
So many greats that have led the foundations, paved the way for these young men to be able to do what they love. I'm blessed that I was able to watch some of it,
Yeah.
and I'm happy. Yeah, and I'm happy that I can still rewatch it, and now it's still here, and I love it.
Right. So
Love
listen,
it.
let's give a projection. Ross Sports. Let me read what Ross Sports said. Stats were inflated back in the 60s. Man, listen, if my dad hear that, he gonna say, man, ain't no way, man. He's gonna say, man, listen, those guys were just talented, but how deep was the talent? That's what everybody questions. How deep was the talent? It could have been top heavy, but then bottom weak. You know what I mean?
Bernard King there.
Bernard King, yeah. But I want to give a let's see. I want to give your opinion. What do you think, Bronny James, right? Do you think he starts? Do you think he comes off the bench? What's the projection of his stats to you? Do you think they'll resemble the stats that he had in college? Or do you think he gets better, he becomes a better player because he's around his dad and he makes an impact in his league? What you think?
I think that based on the situation that he's going into right now, though he does have his dad around him, obviously an all-time great, Anthony Davis, going to be one of the greatest ever. You've got Austin Reeves still on the team. You got some young guys, but I think until you actually know his full potential and his full capabilities, that you should start it out as you would any other rookie and not treat him any differently. But that's me. I wouldn't give him any special treatment. I would make him work just as hard, if not harder, than anybody else because he's got to prove his work. Why do we pick you at 55? What do you bring to the Lakers? I think it's going to be hard because the Lakers aren't exactly in the best spot coaching wise. I don't think JJ Redick was a wise decision at all. Matter of fact, I think it was a terrible decision. But I think as long
Right.
as you have a good system in place with good coaches and a good group of people around you that all want to win and all have that same goal, then you should be okay. But it's going to take time. Don't go out there and expect Bronny James to start throwing up 20 plus points a game right off the bat. And don't be upset when you see him get benched. And don't be upset when he goes to the G League if it happens. It's just a part of the process.
Right. Well, I'm gonna give what Trev Jackson said he will never start. So I think that I don't think he will start. I think he has to be like a 6-man type of player. But I seen his workout in the NBA in the draft combine. The guy killed it. That was the best I seen him play. And instead when he was in high school. But for that draft combine, how I seen him hit them threes, I was like, wow, if he could be a gym rat, we don't know his capabilities. Like you can get better as a player. I don't know if
Right.
y'all remember Jermaine O'Neal.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Jermaine
Indiana
O'Neal
Pacers.
played. Yep, he played 4 years in the league. He didn't play for 4 years. He sat the bench. He just worked on his game, and he became a perennial all-star. So I can't say that, this guy's dad is LeBron. I can't say that if he turned into a gym rat, that he could be a starting point guard. I can't put that away from him. But Trev Jackson said on he said AD one of the greatest ever. He isn't even a top 3 big man now. I gotta agree with Trev on that, right? I think AD is overrated. Let me tell you why. This is why he's overrated. He didn't really do anything until he got with LeBron. And I could say that with LeBron, but LeBron at least went to the finals his first year. You know what I mean? So he's shown me that he was a great player before. But AD, I think he's overrated. I don't think he is one of the greats. I think he's a great player, but I don't think we can put him like top 50. Do you put him top 50 ever?
Not right now. No, not he's not up until his career is completely over, and he still has a good amount of time, assuming he can stay healthy. I think that by the end of his career, one championship in the bag already, he's got plenty of time left as long as he can stay healthy and he doesn't decline. He's going to be very consistent. You're going to hear about him in the annals of NBA history, and he's going to go down as one of the greats. Now, I'm not saying he is the great now, but he is a great player without a doubt. And we saw
Yeah.
that in the playoffs. The only reason that he didn't look good in the playoffs was because, for whatever reason, they stopped giving him the ball. I don't understand that, but
He can't
I
stop
remember
Joker.
watching
He
those
can't stop the
playoffs.
Joker though. My thing is, to see how the Joker, Joel Embiid, took over the league, we never seen AD do something like that. Like he came in the league and he balled, but as far as winning games, we seen the talent, but we don't see the wins. We don't see the playoffs. We don't see, the things that matter, in my opinion.
I think you're
I
right,
mean,
but if you look back to that 2020 season when they'd won that championship, I doubt that they would have beat the Heat if AD was not on that team and they
oh,
only
no way.
had Dwight as their big. In that
No
case,
way.
they
No
probably
way they
wouldn't have
did.
gotten past. Yeah, no way they would have even got past the Nuggets.
No.
So, I mean, I think that he was impactful enough and has remained relevant, but needs to improve in order to get that all-time great status. But I could see the potential, without a doubt, in his game. He's got a very solid game. It's just a matter of staying healthy. And then when you don't give the guy the ball and he's your number one scorer, that's, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know how you stop feeding him the ball, but that was my opinion. I don't like the hiring of JJ Redick again. I don't think that was. I wanted Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell is way more deserving of it and has
I like Sam Cassell.
what I.
Sam Cassell.
Yeah, I would have taken Sam
But
Cassell from the
Sam
Lakers
Cassell
organization.
is not friends with LeBron. See, we living in the LeBron is probably the player that gets what it's his team, man. You know, let's keep it honest.
Yeah.
He's a billionaire. He's probably the richest person in the organization besides the owner. You know, like let's think about it, right? You know what I mean? Like he runs the team, whatever team he be, and that's why he left the Heat, because Pat Riley wasn't going for it. Pat Riley wasn't letting him run the team, and that's when he got, you know, he had to leave because he see that I can go somewhere else and just tell him what to do, and I'd rather do that. So that's just my opinion on that. Should the COVID not be valued as much? Oh, the COVID chip, right? Should not be valued as much. A lot of people say that, man. They say that, you know, it was a COVID, but I tell you what, if the Heat would have won that championship, I would have still felt like I would have celebrated on South Beach. I would have felt like we the champions. Hey, you know, I was there watching it, so I can understand where everybody's saying, but I still would have appreciated that championship and put it on the banner just like the team would have. I would have, you know, so it is what it is, you know.
And if we go back to that time, and as crazy as a time that was, and it wasn't that long ago, we were so desperate at that point in time to have something back that gave us that sense of what we were no longer able to do, go outside, social distancing, all this other rules and regulations that were implemented, that when they reopened the NBA and allowed them to go into the bubble, I think that gave America a chance to kind of just relax and have something to watch and not get just keep our mind off of everything for just a little bit, even if it's to watch basketball. I
Right.
think that if they didn't do it, it would have probably been worse because then there was nothing else to watch.
Right.
Literally.
Right.
Unless we wanted to watch the tickers of people.
Right. So Trev Jackson was talking about Dan Hurley. He said, what was the name of that coach from UConn who didn't
Bobby
take
Hurley.
Yeah, Bobby Hurley. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Hurley. Okay. He said that he didn't take the job to be with. And I think I was on Raw Sports Radio. We talked about this. I thought that the coach should have left UConn and went to the Lakers. But I respected his decision on not going, but I just felt like this was the highest point of time in his career to cash out on what he did. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
sometimes it's not about the money, but legacy too. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to, different challenge. But I respect him not taking that LA job because he wouldn't have been the head coach. It's LeBron was the head coach, and that's probably why he turned it down, because I'm not finna go to a team and I got to listen to what a player's telling me to do. That ain't how guys are going to operate. You know what I mean? So you had
100%.
to get JJ Redick. You had to get a friend of LeBron, or it wasn't working. Because if LeBron say fire this guy, you got to fire this guy. Right?
He's got more pull, and I hate to say it, than Jordan, because Jordan, even as great as he was, he couldn't keep the Bulls together. He couldn't talk Jerry Krause or Jerry Reinsdorf, Phil Jackson into keeping a dynasty together for a year, an extra 2 years maybe at most. Couldn't do it.
Right.
And that was Michael Jordan. But LeBron James has been able to do something that no one's ever seen. So I give him credit in that way. He's got a lot of leverage and a lot of influence in this league.
Definitely.
More than anybody else ever.
Definitely. Yep, I agree. Well, man, listen, this was a great subject, man. We're gonna have to get Trev and Raw Sports Radio all on one, man. I appreciate you guys for commenting on the channel, man. We made it very interesting. Y'all brought
Thank
up
you,
some
guys.
points. Yeah, this is one of the best shows, man. I think I've been a part of, man, in a while. So I mean, it's probably the best one I feel like as far as putting it together. But we definitely got to build on this, man. I can't wait to get with Max, you, Trev Jackson, man, and Raw Sports Radio, man, and put some more great content out there, man. We got to keep it going. Anything you want to close them out with, Max?
I would just like to say thank you for everybody for tuning in and listening to Rob and I. I'd like to thank Rob for having me on his show. I thank Trevor and I thank Raw Sports Radio for being a part of the chat and contributing. And I also like to apologize on behalf of myself for any misconduct that I might have done during my tenure at Raw Sports Radio. I never meant any harm, and I apologize for any look that I may have put on the channel in the negative light. Max Trubin apologizes.
Okay. Wow, you got him with that. I appreciate that. So, hey, guys, we're going to catch you on the next video. I'm going to chop this up, man, and probably send it to Raw Sports Radio. Send it to you if you want some, if y'all want to drop some of it. So, hey, man, we're going to catch y'all on the next video, man. I appreciate y'all guys, man. Peace, abundance of love, peace, and man, and blessings to you, right? I'll catch y'all in the next one, man. Stay blessed.
God bless everybody.